Chris Collins here, and this is not the Food Network, but in this video I am going to share a recipe with you. And it is the recipe for increasing your customer pay sales, higher customer retention, and also what comes with higher customer retention is selling more cars for the dealership. And this is called the Circle of Trust. And I'm going to break it down for you and kind of explain each step of the Circle of Trust. And the Circle of Trust is what we teach in Service Advisor Sales Breakthrough. So I'm going to just kind of paraphrase COT, and that stands for Circle of Trust. The first step in Circle of Trust is when the customer comes into the service drive, the service advisor to make an instant connection with the customer. Instant connection. So that means that they drive into the service drive, service advisor goes out to the customer right away, meets them at their car, finds common ground with them, and makes a connection with them. We want the customers to feel like they're part of our family and that we have their best interest at heart. So that instant connection is the most important part probably of all of the Circle of Trust, because if the customer doesn't trust the service advisor and doesn't like them, then we're kind of dead in the water from there. So the most important part is instantly connecting with the customer. Then the second one is, once we've connected with the customer, to check history and advise / plan maintenance. So a lot of times customers come into our service drives and we check history and we just recommend what they're due for right then, instead of becoming a part of the customer's family and creating a long-term plan for them for their maintenance, so they're not surprised when they come in that they're already planning for it and they already know ahead of time what they are due for over time. And I think a lot of times with turnover with service advisors, customers get lost and nobody has planned out the next 2 years for them. And I've seen service advisors be very, very successful planning out customers' maintenance over the next couple years, and they come in, they throw them the keys, and they say, hey, I know I'm due for this and this, and it's time. And that's it. Instead of trying to constantly sell them and surprise them with what they're due for, tell them up front, this is the plan that we would devise for you. This is how we would maintain your car if it was ours, and these are the timetables that we would use. So plan maintenance for the customer ahead of time and advise them of the maintenance that they're due for. That's the second step. Then the next step is to introduce the 32-point inspection to the customer. And maybe your inspection sheet is 39 points or 61 points or 22, but introduce the inspection sheet to the customer right up front when they're sitting at your desk or you're writing them up at their car. The reason why you want to introduce the inspection sheet right up front is later on when you call and recommend any needed repairs to the customer or anything that the technician found on the car, they're not surprised. And they're not surprised that, oh, hey, why are you fishing for other stuff? I just wanted you to fix my coolant leak. So you tell them in a very nice way, the service advisor says, Mr. Smith, when I have your car here today, we're going to perform this courtesy inspection. The technician's just going to check the car out, and if he finds anything, I'm going to let you know. And what that does subliminally to the customer is, hey, the doctor's going to look at my car and he's going to write me a prescription if I need something. It's a very soft sell approach, and it's key to the next video that I'm going to record for you, which is the table of contents technique in selling off of the inspection sheet. You have to plan up front that you're going to do the inspection, and then the customer is expecting you to call them and tell them how their car checked out or what the doctor found and what the diagnosis was on the car. And then if there's any additional needed work on the car, you're going to let them know, and they're not surprised. Then the next one is a 2-hour call. So if the customer leaves, and this only applies to customers that are leaving their car with us, but a 2-hour call, if the customer's dropped off their car and we have it for the day, you want to call them within 2 hours of them leaving no matter what. Even if you're just calling them to say, hey, everything's on track, I just want to touch base with you, your car's going in the shop in the next hour, in the next 2 hours, but just touch them. So they don't, what that does to the customers, they're not worried and they're not wondering what's going on. They're up to date, and it makes them feel like you're on top of it as a service advisor. Hey, he called me and he didn't even need to call me. So that's how on top of it my service advisor is. And that's what you want to reinforce with the customer. So 2-hour call from the time the customer drops the car off from you. The way that you plan for that is I just use a log sheet and put the time on there, and you call the customer, even in between writing up other customers, just a quick little call. Then the next one is to call on diagnosis and the 32-point inspection, the 32P, at the same time. I know a lot of service advisors, trainers train that you should call the customer on the inspection sheet before you call them on the diagnosis. So as soon as the technician pulls the car on their rack, they fill out the inspection sheet and then you call the customer. That's very misleading to the customer, and it does not help the customer plan long term. If a customer comes in for a coolant leak and you just call them and say, hey, you need a valve cover gasket and tires and something else, and you haven't addressed their original concern, they're going to lose trust in us when you do that. You want to plan all of their repairs and their maintenance for them all at one time and be very upfront with them. So call on the diagnosis and the 32-point inspection all at the same time at one time. Then the next one is to make sure the car is done early. Now, car done early doesn't mean that you have 20 technicians available at any time to finish a car. What it means is you want to under promise and over deliver. So done early is early from what you told the customer or what you promised the customer the car would be done. So you want to make sure that you don't put yourself in a trap and tell the customer the car is going to be done at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon you're still working on it. You control and you can frame the customer how long it takes to fix a car. You can tell a customer, hey, the technicians are like doctors. You don't want to rush a doctor during surgery. We don't want to rush the technician. We want to give him time to fix the car right, test drive it after and make sure everything's okay, and then we'll give the car back to you. You can frame the customer how long something takes up front. And that's a very, very important key to this, is not disappointing the customer that you told them or they believe the car will be done at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's not. You just want to tell them, hey, I need the car all day, and use the doctor analogy that I just told you, and then they won't be disappointed with you at all and you won't lose any trust. And then the next one is to QC the car. And QCing the car to means not only making sure that the car is fixed, but somebody touching the car and making sure that it's washed before the customer shows up, that it's vacuumed, and that there's no grease prints, hand prints on anything, and that the car is actually ready to go. And that's an extra step that advisors, I know it's a hard thing to do, but it's very, very crucial to make sure that somebody touches that car and that you know that it's washed and ready to go before you call the customer and tell them to show up. So many times in service drives, I'm standing there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and customers are waiting for their cars and the cars are just going into the car wash. And they're very disappointed and they're frustrated. You don't want to set yourself up for that sort of situation. So you actually want to touch the car and make sure that it's washed and ready to go before the customer is called, because sometimes customers show up a lot quicker than you think. And then the next one is good bedside manner. And bedside manner is not making the customer do the walk of shame. It means to do an active delivery and touch the customer and say goodbye to them and make sure that they're comfortable with what happened today. Maybe talk about CSI at that point if you didn't talk about it in the morning, but don't make them do the walk of shame and nobody say goodbye to them. Nobody say how much we appreciate their business, and just a friendly, hey, thanks, Joe. Make sure you call me if you need anything else, and remember we planned out this and this and this on the maintenance. So don't make your customers do the walk of shame. Good bedside manner. And then the most important one for you and for service advisors to make a lot of money in this industry is to be there next time. And what we mean by be there next time is to not jump from one job to the other and be at the same dealership for a long time and build a clientele of customers. And we're going to teach you in Service Advisor Sales Breakthrough how it can mean close to $800,000 a year to you if you just instantly connect with with 3 customers a day. If you instantly connect with 3 customers a day, make them your customers for life. Over time, that adds up to huge money in the bank for you and a lot of happy customers over time. So make sure that you're there next time and that they get the same service advisor every time and they create that family atmosphere and that relationship. That's really, really important to the circle of trust. In the next video, I'm going to teach you how you sell. I'm going to give you some techniques how to sell off of the 32-point inspection sheet when the technician gives it to you and there's work there and you're going to call the customer. I'm going to role play with my English Bulldog Murphy and show you techniques that really, really work. How was that?